everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Lodestar Lending Leaders. My name is Elena Gardner, and this week I'm joined by David Hale Sylvester, or Big Dave, as if you've ever seen him on the streets of Philadelphia, you'll know him as. He is such an amazing, has an amazing impact on the community and has done some really cool things. So I wanted to bring him on today's episode to kind of talk about giving and his new book, One Hug at a Time, kind of coming into the holiday season and how we can translate this into our own lives for 2022. Thank you, Dave, for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been an interesting journey. It's been definitely this last year, but for me, just been this last 20 years since my story started. And my story started, and I'm sorry, there is city life going by.
It happened.
My story is that for the last 20 years, since my friend was killed on September 11th, I have been hugging and high-fiving people as a way to make the world a better place, all over the planet. And to date, I have hugged probably close to 750,000 people in 50 states and 42 countries. And it has, I've thrown hug parties after violent events, and even I've gone to different towns. I've thrown hug parties in the centers of the United States. For Valentine's Day, I use the word centers because I've thrown hug parties at the Geographic Center of the continental U.S. in Lebanon, Kansas, a town of 195 people, where I hugged 105 people, which qualifies me for nothing. But but I also have hugged people at the geographic center of the United States, given Alaska and Hawaii, and Belfouche, South Dakota, as well as the geographic center of North America in this town called Robinson, North Dakota. So I've done a lot of things in order to make people smile and just try to make people's days brighter, and to understand that, hey, listen, we're all a lot closer to each other than further apart. And so it's certainly, as the times have gone on and they've become trying, it really tests my creativity as to what kind of event I'm going to throw and where I'm going to throw it and stuff like that, and how I promote it. And it definitely has kept me busy, but it's given me a lot of great stories and just a lot of great interactions with a lot of amazing people throughout the world now. I have hugged people from newborns to people as old as 101 years old, and so that pretty much runs the gamut.
Yeah,
and been places where I don't know any. I don't speak the language and stuff like that, but I'm able to convey a lot with a smile. And I think a lot of times, your smile and just the brightness of your face or whatever, a lot of times, conveys your intent, and people can see that. And it's like I said, I've been able to connect with people and empower a lot of people. And I think that's something that really feels good, when I can walk away from a situation, or a city, knowing that I've empowered a lot of people. That's something that means a lot to me.
yeah. And I know, just kind of looking over your bio and everything, you really seem to visit these places that are touched by violence and have, seen the negative impacts of what's going on in the world. And I'm sure it's hard to walk into those places and try and be a light of joy when so much tragedy has occurred. But you started the passion out of tragedy. So how have you seen that joy affect people and help people when they're in that mental health headspace?
So, the thing that I just do is I just stand there, and I just stand there. I think it's an imperative wherever we are. You have to see people where they are. I just let people know, hey, listen, my story started of tragedy. And at some point, you will evolve to trust people again. You will evolve to smile again. You'll love again. You won't be afraid anymore. And it happened to me, and it can happen to you. And, I certainly felt all of those things after my friend was killed on September 11th, and then just grew into it. And so I just stand there, and give people an opportunity to cry, vent, or whatever, and then we just have a hug, and then from there we have a conversation, and from there people rise to their own level. But at least after meeting me, they can't say no one cares anymore. I think a lot of times when there is, let's just take violence out of it, there is an event. Like, let's say, so everyone has experienced getting their car broken into or something. And then as they're dealing with the broken glass and stuff like that, and the radio's ripped out, they'll see people walking by, not saying anything. And people will wonder, does anybody care anymore? And, excuse me. And, I think, that's a horrible feeling. And, when I go to places and, I stand there just to hug and high five, just to see them in that moment, and do what I can in that moment. It makes people feel better, just a little bit about humanity. And I think after an act, any of those acts, that it's good for people. Something has to happen to make people feel better about humanity, because we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And I just think that's just important. And regardless of the business that you're in, regardless of whether it's the hospitality industry, in a hotel or a restaurant, or in banking and loaning people, we're all in this together. And it's just all about, building connections and communities. And I think that really is something that is important, especially now with all of the things that, with social media and stuff like that, people can go down rabbit holes and all of a sudden, think that no one cares or everyone is against them. And it just fuels derision and division a lot of times. And so, I think it's important that we all kind of just come together, and that really is what it's about.
Yeah. And I'm sure as someone's whose primary mission is to give hugs and high fives, the pandemic definitely did a number on that.
The pandemic did do a lot on that, but what's interesting is that during the height of it, and as there were a lot of protests and different things going on in this country, a lot of people contacted me from around the planet, very much concerned that I was going to be, driven out of business, and wanted me to come up with something, to do something. I mean, literally in one day, I got calls from people in France, Indonesia, and Israel, from people who were concerned about me and about what I was doing. And so, at first I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm just one person. But then I started thinking deeper about it, and, deeper about what happens when I hug some people, what happens when I do high five some people. And I came up with the idea to do a 48 state trip, throughout the country, during the holiday season, not hugging, not high fiving, but just doing good deeds for people, in order to create more smiles in the world. So I bought COVID units, pizzas in Bismarck, Billings, Fargo, and Standing Rock Nation. I bought an old lady's gas in Arkansas. I treated an oncologist's team to lunch in Chico, California. Every state I did something different, just to create more smiles in the world, just to create, it's, I think, because we were all sort of shut in, we only had our devices and social media to connect with the world. And it was good to interact with people and stuff like that. And, just to go out there and just create smiles. And the other thing that I did is I started writing or my second book, One Hug at a Time, which is just 99 short stories, most under 1,000 words, of interactions, positive interactions that I've had around the planet. Me hugging my way out of speeding tickets, hugging my way out of parking tickets, hugging my way through and into everything, because I think it's important that people see, that we can get along, that we can connect. It's and that's it. And that, regardless of what visible or political or, whatever differences there are, we can connect just for a smile, just for a hug, and just for a high five, and to share some good vibes. And if we can connect on that, then there's other things that we can potentially connect on. So it was really during the pandemic, it was, yes, there wasn't any hugging that went on, but there was, there's always something to do. And I think
Yeah.
that was a message that I just wanted to innately get across to anybody that saw my story, that there's always something to do. And I think for anybody that's listening to this, I mean, I think it's important that, for you, this isn't just about me, this is about you, whoever's listening,
Mhm.
that there's always something to do. There's always some way that you can move forward. And that's the most important thing, right? To move forward. That's why, that's why we live. That's why
There's only one direction.
That's right. That's it. And that is forward. And that's imperative. And sometimes, it's hard to see forward, because we're stuck in our own stuff. But I mean, that's the importance of paying attention to positive stories that are out there, to showcasing stories of people that are moving forward in life. And that's why that good news is important, because people need to see this. Otherwise, people will just, they'll just give up. And we can't have that as a society, as humans.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to fall into the negative news cycle, right? Of just
Right.
refreshing and rewatching and saying everything's bad, everything's terrible, looking at numbers,
Right.
being sad. And sometimes it is okay, I think a lot of it is what can I do about it? Even if it's not a financial contribution or something like that, it's as simple as smiling at someone across the street or telling someone that you like their outfit or a hug or a high five. And I think that's so important to inspire other people to do that.
Or a positive comment. I think it's,
Mhm.
I think that is, I get comments, on my Instagram page. I'm the Human High Five on Instagram. And I can't tell you, how that makes me feel when people that I don't know, have never hugged, have never met, may never meet, say, "Hey, listen, I love the content, and it's great." So, again, this isn't about me. For anybody that's
Mhm.
out there, if there's an entity that you like, is an entity that you admire, and stuff like that, compliment them, write them a letter. There's a million different ways that you can show your support. That doesn't necessarily cost money, but show your support, and say that, hey, listen, I stand with you, I stand by you, and that's it. Because sometimes that person, needs that. It is there's various types of currency in this world. Obviously, we know about money, but there's an emotional currency of just positive vibes and thinking and words and affirmations and stuff like that, and that means a lot to people. Because a lot of times, I know for myself, I don't have a lot of money. It doesn't have a lot of stuff. And, I don't have I don't have that. There's no major sponsor or anything like that. So it is the words of people that like my story that means so much and fuel me more than you realize. So for anybody, again, it's not about me. If there is an artist or an entity that really brings you joy, then support them in any way you can. Support them in your words.
Yeah, I think that's an important message too as we go into the holiday season. A lot of times, as we look at these smaller creators and these small businesses, you don't realize how much engagement on social media and engagement on those platforms, even if you can't afford the purchase, does make an impact and impacts the algorithm. It impacts how people see the content. It can drive it
Without
up to
question.
relevancy to see the right people. And I think that as we engage with our feeds, we really should be engaging with things that actually matter to us and things that we
Right.
want to see out of the world. Because, we do see these things with the metaverse and all of this stuff coming out about Facebook that, we are going to end up shaping our digital world around us, and we shape it and we don't realize how we shape it, because a lot of times it's done through, algorithms and things that, if you're not super tech savvy, you might not realize is happening. But
Right.
it's important, the things you engage with end up coming back to you. And I think, when you engage with content like yours, you really can end up having the more positive feedback in your feed.
Right. And just going on what you're saying is that, if you like one thing, then there'll be other things that will come through your feed and stuff like that. So you're not just fueling that person, you're also fueling yourself. It's this
Mhm.
sort of self-propelling, positive kinetic chain thread that's
Mhm.
happening because you'll get more stories like that. We've all gone down rabbit holes of on social media and stuff like that, and it is excuse me, why not have some good news come through? Why not have some uplifting stories? And I think that is important, again,
Mhm.
not just for the artist and entity, but for you,
Mhm.
whoever's listening to this, you need good news. For whoever is looking at this, your smile matters. Your smile matters to more people than you realize. You know, I was on the trip, and I was in Iowa, Idaho, I think it was. I have to look at my notes. But when I checked into the hotel, this woman couldn't believe that I was doing this drive, a 48-state drive during the pandemic. And she was like, why are you doing this? And I said, to see your smile. And the woman literally, she smiled and she held her face and she said, no one's ever said anything about my smile. And it doesn't matter to anybody. And I said, it matters to me. And all of a sudden, this woman just started crying. She said, that's the nicest thing I've ever heard. And, you know, it's, that woman needed, wasn't the words from me, but she needed that sentiment from somebody. And it's and your smile and your words and your affirmations and stuff like that. I'm not saying lie to everybody and stuff like that, and just but when you encounter something good, you know, compliment it, compliment it. Um, that's what I always do. When I see something good, I always say something. When it's something bad, you know, maybe they have a bad day and I just move on. I'll give them one more shot. But when I see good service, when I encounter good service or good things, I always write a letter. I think I got that from my mother. I'm one of the great letter writers.
Mhm.
So I always write a letter, saying, hey, listen, this person was really good or kind or thorough or something, and try to be specific as possible. Because a lot of times, people need that. People need that. And I've been the recipient of those letters sometimes, and it really means the world to me. Because a lot of times it's
Mhm.
people that, you know, I they didn't stick out to my mind, but I did something that stuck out to them, and it's those things matter.
Yeah. And I mean, I definitely, when I left the hospitality industry at the end of last year, as I was cleaning out my office, I've always kept, from all of my jobs, I've always kept every handwritten thank you note I've ever received. Because it's so small, but
And
it's something
means a
that
lot.
it meant so much to me, and to receive those words so early on in my career, especially, in a lot of ways. Everyone has these moments of doubt and second guessing themselves and all of that, and you don't realize how much those words can affect you. But having someone write a handwritten note saying, I came back to my office at my last job right after we had gotten brought back in to reopen everything. And there was a note. I had had a small wedding about a week and a half before everything shut down. And they had sent me this absolutely beautiful note thanking me um, for doing their wedding. It was only a 15 person, but we'd thrown it together in about a week. I think they saw what was coming and they were like, we want to get this in. And I just opened it and sat down and started crying in my office. It was just something that, you know, you don't realize how much those things can impact other people. And I'm sure you've heard some interesting stories, kind of afterwards, and you've gotten some interesting letters after your interactions with people as well.
Most definitely. But I think it's not just the thank you note. I mean, it's not just the words, it's,
Mhm.
that takes time.
Yes.
A lot of times people, go out of their way to make sure that it's nice stationery or it's a nice card and
Mhm.
whatever. Everything about that note, it takes some effort. It takes some effort. And for me, I just I read those things and like you said, you can't help but start crying a lot of
Mhm.
times because it's just it feels good. And I think, like you said earlier, we're going into the holiday season, which is great for the Hallmark Channel and stuff like that, but it can be a very treacherous stretch for people
Mhm.
because they didn't have the idyllic family. Don't have money, they don't have a job, they don't have something, and this can be a very tough stretch for people.
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, holiday parties, Christmas, New Year's. I mean, that's like bang, 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 for a
Mhm.
lot of people emotionally. So it's really important now for all of us to be just a little more, have our eyes open a little bit more about
Mhm.
the people that we encounter, from, the barista to the security guard, that we encounter to the people that, the public transportation conductors and stuff like that. All of those people that, a lot of times are just sort of, can be faceless and no one speaks to them, and just say
Mhm.
good morning,
Yeah.
just say, or thank you, thanks, thank you for doing your job or whatever. Like, again, it doesn't have to be a tip or anything like that. Just acknowledge it. It means so much to people. And that's it. When I walk um through City Hall, when I get off the trolley in the mornings, there's guys that work around City Hall, and I greet them every morning. And one guy actually said, why do you speak to me? He was perplexed by that. And I said,
Mhm.
man, because I see you and I just want you to have a good day. And he said, but no one does. And I said, well, I'm not everybody else. And he's like, well, thank you. And it's funny. Sometimes, it's sad that, sometimes when you give kindness and stuff like that, that's the weird thing. It's
Mhm.
instead of, the being rude and just brusquely walking by somebody, that's become the norm. And that's sort of a sad place to be. And I think we just need to see each other a little bit more,
I mean, if
especially now.
yeah, I think I tell this story and people laugh at me because Philadelphia is not known necessarily for being super friendly.
Not
Um,
at all.
for the city of brotherly love. But when so I'm from Massachusetts. And when I first moved down here, I was telling all of my friends about how friendly people were. Because it seems like the further south you move, you just get acknowledged in the grocery store line a little bit more.
Right.
Because everyone's a little
Yes.
bit less cold.
Yes. Everyone's a little bit less cold, and it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
My husband and I go on vacation to Virginia every year, and we're like, people are here so friendly.
It's great, man. It's great. I mean, it really is. You know, like the cheer song. You want to go where everybody knows your name. You that warmth just makes you smile, and that warmth that you get, you know, maybe the day isn't so bad. You
Yeah.
know, maybe it's not so bad. And if I can get you to just grin a little bit or maybe even a little smirk, then maybe we can get a full smile later on or turn things around. And I think that's very important right now.
Of course. Well, as we wrap up, we always like to ask this question to all of our guests is instead of
Mhm.
what keeps you up at night, what gets you up in the morning and gets you excited about your day?
I am a person that I am excited about the potential within the day. It sounds hokey as hell, I know. But I never thought I would have a book worthy life, let alone A Books Worthy Life. I guess I should plug the book here, One Hug at a Time.
Yeah.
I never thought I would have a Books Worthy Life, and I never thought that I would be the author or have the ability to be the author of those books. And, so to have lived this life and traveled the world just on the strength of a hug and a high five, I am excited. I mean, I'm excited about the potential within the day because I'm just like, what else can happen? What else can happen for me? So for me, I'm excited about the possibility. That's what gets me up. That's what gets me going. I'm excited about speaking to people because I've now so many of my hugs and high fives and smiles and good vibes have come full circle. That as I have done different trips and different things, people have come out of the blue to say, "Hey, listen, I know somebody in that city. I did that before. I know someone that can help you." And and that's it. And I've seen the good vibes come back to me. So that is that is what gets me up, and that also is what keeps me in the game. Because I want to create more good vibes, so it helps you. So maybe down the line it can help me again. And so it's again, it's this eddy of good vibes. It just keeps going and going and going and churning, and that means a lot to me. And so that's what keeps me going.
Well, that's fantastic. And where can people find you?
So people can find me. I'm on Instagram. I'm the Human High Five. I am. My website is davidhalesylvester.com. You can get a good book, and just by good book, I mean just good interactions. 99 good interactions from all over the world on Amazon, One Hug at a Time. But most importantly, if anybody is out there is down and doubting, if anybody is just really just dour on society, call me. My number is 267-252-1974. Yes, I'm giving my actual phone number out. It's okay. Call me, text me, just say, "Hey, Dave, I'm having a bad day." And I will send you pictures of smiling faces of people from all over the planet that will hopefully get you smiling again, because your smile is so important to your sphere of people. If you're not smiling, then your significant other is smiling less. Then your kids are smiling less, then your dog is smiling less. Your smile means so much to everybody in your sphere. And so whatever it takes to help you smile, to help you get in the game of life again, because we need you. We need your smile. We need your happiness. Just call me. Again, 267-252-1974. It's the only phone I got. And really, there is just whatever I can do to help you smile, I'm willing to pitch in. And there you go.
Thank you so much, Dave, for joining me today and to talk to all of us in the mortgage industry. For anyone that's made it this far, we are going to be doing a raffle over on our social media for Dave's book as well. So if you go ahead and follow us there, we're going to do a raffle copter along with an Amazon gift card for the holiday season. So please give us a follow, and we would love to give back to you, our followers, in that way. So thank you so much, Dave, again for joining me. And everyone,
Thank you.
See you next week.
High fives, everybody.
High fives.